The Great Pyramid of Giza weighs an estimated 6 million tons. Its base covers 13 acres, and it is composed of 2.3 million individual blocks of stone, some weighing as much as 80 tons. To put that in perspective, all the stone from every cathedral, church, and chapel built in England since the beginning of Christianity would not equal the mass of this single ancient monument. The official story tells us it was a tomb, a monument to house the mummified remains of a single pharaoh, a body, by the way, that was never found inside, not a single trace. The pharaoh's chamber was stripped bare, with only an empty stone box remaining. This isn't just a historical loose end. It is a tear in the very fabric of our accepted history, a profound anomaly that suggests the pyramid was never a tomb at all, but something far more significant, something designed to communicate a message across the ages. For centuries, we have searched its walls for answers, for the grand hieroglyphic texts that would explain its purpose, like those found in the tombs of the Valley of the Kings. But we found nothing. The Great Pyramid is almost completely bare. There are no official inscriptions, no cartouches of King Khufu, no tales of his glorious reign. This silence is deafening, an intentional void in a civilization that documented everything. But what if the silence itself is the point? What if the story isn't written on the walls, but is the walls, the passages, the chambers? A story told not in words, but in architecture, mathematics, and light. Consider the very entrance. It doesn't lead to a grand hall or an upward staircase to the heavens. It forces you down, a cramped, descending passage, plunging deep into the bedrock, far below the pyramid's foundation. It is a path of descent, a journey into the earth, leading to a dark subterranean chamber, a rough-hewn, unfinished pit of raw chaos. This is the first lesson of the pyramid, a stark warning encoded in stone. The unexamined life, the path of pure materialism, leads only downward into an unfinished void, a spiritual dead end. Why would the architects of eternity first guide you into a symbol of a project abandoned? Unless it was never the true path. Hidden deep within that descending passage, concealed by a massive granite plug, a secret was found. Another passage, scratched into the ceiling. But this path is different. It moves upward. It is the beginning of the journey of ascension. However, this is no royal road. The ascending passage is just as cramped as the one before it, so narrow and low that a grown man must crawl on his hands and knees. It is a struggle, a deliberate trial of endurance and will. What kind of king would design an entrance that forced him to crawl? Or was it never intended for a king at all? This grueling climb doesn't lead directly to the final prize. It takes you to a place of pause, a horizontal corridor leading to a perfectly constructed chamber located precisely on the pyramid's central axis, halfway between the north and south faces. We call it the Queen's Chamber, yet no queen was ever interred here. It is hauntingly empty. Its walls are stark, gabled with white limestone. It is a place of absolute stillness, a chamber of balance and equilibrium. Perhaps a place of purification before the next stage, but it holds its own deeper mystery. Two narrow shafts extend from its walls, not to the outside for air, but deep into the pyramid's core, ending at a small, enigmatic stone door discovered by a robot probe. A door with two copper handles. It has remained sealed for 4.5 millennia. Why build a door that can't be opened, leading to a place no one can go? Is it a dead end? Another test? A lesson that some paths of knowledge require you to turn back and find the true way? Because the true path continues from the main ascending passage, and what you find there is designed to shatter your perception. The cramped, claustrophobic crawl suddenly erupts. You enter a space that defies architectural logic and expectation, the Grand Gallery, a breathtaking, soaring corridor that rockets upward at the same 26-degree angle. Its walls are a masterpiece of corbelled masonry, 7 layers of polished limestone rising nearly 30 feet high. The transition is not merely architectural, it is psychological. It is a sudden, explosive expansion of consciousness, a tangible representation of revelation. But what revelation could be so powerful that it required an architectural miracle to convey it? The purpose of the Grand Gallery remains one of Egyptology's greatest puzzles. Its floor is flanked by 2 ramps which have a series of 27 pairs of slots cut into them. No one knows their function for certain. Theories range from holding statues to being part of a system for raising stone blocks. But in a structure where every angle and proportion is deliberate to the millimeter, they can't be incidental. Could these slots be markers, not for construction, but for a process? A sequence of initiation, where each step up the gallery represented a higher level of understanding, a calibration of the soul with the cosmos. At the very top of this magnificent ascent, you do not simply walk into the final chamber. You are stopped, forced to stoop, to duck under a low granite lintel, passing through an antechamber that once held massive portcullis slabs, like celestial gates. You must humble yourself one last time before entering the heart of the pyramid, the so-called King's Chamber. Constructed entirely of massive rose-colored granite blocks quarried from Aswan over 500 miles to the south. Each block is perfectly fitted, creating a sanctum of impeccable resonance and proportion. And within this granite heart lies the ultimate clue to the pyramid's true purpose. It is not a throne, it is not a treasure, it is an empty, lidless granite box, the sarcophagus. Chipped and plain, it contains no body and shows no sign it ever did. It is too large to have passed through the ascending passage, meaning it was placed in the chamber first and the entire 6 million-ton pyramid was built around it. A monument of perfect precision, aligned to true north, built to last for eternity, all to protect an empty box. Why? Why build the most enduring wonder of the ancient world around a void? Unless the box was not meant to hold a body, but to facilitate an experience. Ancient mystery schools spoke of initiation rituals where the adept would undergo a symbolic death and rebirth. They would enter a sarcophagus to journey into their own consciousness, confront their ego, and be reborn with enlightened understanding. The King's Chamber, with its specific resonant frequencies, might have been the most powerful amplification chamber ever built. The empty sarcophagus wasn't a failure to protect a king's body. It was an invitation, an instrument for the transformation of a living soul. This isn't just speculation, it's written in the very numbers of the pyramid. The structure incorporates pi and phi, the golden ratio, with incredible accuracy. Its dimensions mirror the northern hemisphere of our planet on a scale of 1 to 43,200. Its shafts align perfectly with specific stars, like those in Orion's belt, which the Egyptians associated with rebirth and the god Osiris. This is not just a building, it's a model of the cosmos, a language of universal mathematics. But if it speaks a universal language, who was the message for? The Great Pyramid is not a story about one pharaoh's ego. It is a story about the human condition. It is a map, a parable in stone. You begin in the darkness of the material world, the descending passage. You are offered a choice to continue down into the unfinished pit of ignorance or to take the hard, narrow path of self-improvement, the ascending passage. You face trials and sealed doors, moments of purification in the Queen's Chamber. You experience a sudden expansion of consciousness in the Grand Gallery, and finally, after humbling yourself, you enter the King's Chamber. There you do not find riches, but an empty coffer. The final lesson, true enlightenment, is not about what you gain, but what you let go of. The death of the ego, the rebirth of the spirit. The pyramid wasn't built to keep a dead king in. It was built to let a living human out of the prison of their own mind. It is a timeless moral lesson left for any civilization advanced enough to ask the right questions. But what do you think? Is the Great Pyramid a tomb, an energy machine, or a profound spiritual roadmap? What does the empty sarcophagus mean to you? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. We read every one. And if you seek to uncover more hidden truths like this, subscribe to Pyramid Parables and join us on the journey.